We'll just recess for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I apologize for the delay to the House. I had to get the numbers. Tomorrow, we will be calling Resolution 2489 and Resolution 2490, and I believe we will be meeting at noon tomorrow, till 5. 1 till 5, but we could meet noon to 5 if you want a longer question period. 1 to 5, Mr. Speaker.
The motion before the House is that we should now stand adjourned and meet together tomorrow between the hours of 1 and 5. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour signify by saying aye. Against? The motion is carried. We have now reached the moment of interruption, tonight's debate. Therefore, be it resolved that the Minister of Agriculture put in place a real strategy to address the needs and concerns of farmers in Nova Scotia, and it was submitted by the Honourable Member for Bedford Birch Cove. The Honourable Member for Hants West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think Hants West, yes, Hants West.
What is the cost?
Of all, it's an honour to be able to have a few minutes this evening to speak to one of the most important issues before us as a province, and that is the agricultural industry. And as some of us, I guess most of us, are probably aware, Mr. Speaker, a few of us attended last week. The annual meeting, the Federation of Agriculture in Truro, great turnout, anxious to hear the good news, Mr. Speaker, the good news that didn't come. There was a presentation. I got an opportunity to speak as to the critic for the Liberal Party. As always, critics have that very great opportunity to speak with the farmers and to the farmers and so on, and the industry. And then the minister got up, and the minister sounded nervous, Mr. Speaker, and it was the first time in all the times I've heard him speak that there was a little bit of nerve in his voice. It sounded rather peculiar, and I thought, wow, what's this about? And he talked about a whole variety of things before he got to the point, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not sure why, and I was looking for my glossy copy of, I probably gave it to somebody, Mr. Speaker, because there wasn't much in it. I even read it twice through, one after the other, to make sure I didn't miss something. And I read and I looked at some beautiful pictures, and there are pictures down the valley, pictures up in Colchester, all kinds of pictures, beautiful. Beautiful history lesson, nice bit of geography in it as well. Well, that's all well and good, but from what I understood from talking to the people in Truro was they already knew all this. They knew about the history of agriculture in the province. They helped us. The minister hollers over to me, they helped us. I don't know who they were, but the folks that I talked to weren't part of that they group, but anyway, and still through the weekend meeting with some folks who still couldn't figure out where the rest of it was. Maybe there's more to come. Maybe that was the first edition. I don't know. Maybe there's a second edition to come. And the minister, I'm sure, will speak to that as the evening goes on here. And in great detail, I have no doubt in my mind that he'll close this up with just a banger of a speech. Again, probably the odd hollow platitude that we like to use that language here. And perhaps it'll be more than what was in that report, other than the glossy words and the fine print and so on and so forth. And I don't understand what that meant, Mr. Speaker, but I'll take that as directed to you. I'll direct my comments through you, and I better not say the other piece I was going to talk about, prettier to look at. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, what's important is that we still seem to be missing a little something when it comes to the agricultural industry. And I'm not sure why they waited and they waited. And a year ago, we were at this very same
Order,
meeting.
please. The Honourable Member for Hants West has the floor. If there's conversations need to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and appreciate that, given this very important topic this evening. And as I was saying, I was there a year ago, Mr. Speaker, and I've been at a couple of other meetings where the minister has been, and we attend some of the local agriculture meetings and federation meetings and district ones and so on. And it's the same story, Mr. Speaker. It's I hope to bring that, I hope to bring that, I hope to bring that. That was the language a year ago in Truro that was used. I hope to have something for us very soon by way of this 10-year strategy, and here we are 18 months in, so now it's an 8.5 year. I was teasing him about an 8-year strategy. I'll even credit him for now it's an 8.5 year strategy. And by the looks of the strategy, it's a whole lot less than that. And I hate to use the word strategy because it's not even a strategy. It talks about some great things, you know, that we should do, but it doesn't say we will do. And I spoke in this House maybe a week ago or so, and the minister will note that he's quoting me on something, and I don't know what that was, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The minister knows full well that there's a commitment. I stood in this House a week or so ago and I spoke to this very issue. A commitment from government is needed. There did not appear, and I said I read it through twice, I didn't see any financial commitment made by way of any specific part of the industry. Now maybe I missed something in that. Maybe the fine print. I know I wear glasses, Mr. Speaker. Maybe they need to be stronger. Maybe I missed a line or 2 or 5 or 10 of them somewhere in it. But I don't think so. From conversations I've had, I don't think I missed any lines. And like I said, I read it through just twice back to back and then again to make sure I didn't. But, you know, I said the other day, there's a lot of gloss in it. It's a nice report. It's a beautiful looking thing and it's all shiny. But it's got no content, Mr. Speaker. And I asked at the time, I guess it was a ministerial statement of some degree perhaps, maybe not intended, but it was here on Friday morning. And the cost. We're interested to know the cost, one. But more importantly, you know, we could have taken the cost of that and we could have put it into the farm community in some way. Now, I spoke to a farmer there, a guy who was 77 years old, and I wish I could remember his name, but I can't, on Thursday afternoon. He was from Tattamagush, and he owned a lot of land. And he's been trying to keep it because his daughter is in the agriculture college. She wants to take over the family business, the family farm, and move into it. He's got an old homestead that's run down, and he tries to keep patching the roof up. But more importantly, with the land, he's seen this wonderful report. The land says we got lots of land. We need to keep it viable. We need to look after it. So he's cutting the bushes, and he's got this machine. Showed me pictures. He had a whole baggie full of pictures. And maybe he met with the minister and showed him. I don't know. But anyway, this fine gentleman showed me all these pictures, and it showed his machine there, an old machine. He's got a bush hog on it. And he's going around and he's bush hogging it off, and he says he could do it for minimal cost, $10 or $20 an acre, where it costs, I guess, maybe in around $1,200 an acre once you let it grow up, and you got to get an excavator in. His numbers, I'm not sure exactly what the fee would be, but considerably more. You had to hire somebody to come in and knock it all down with an excavator and then retill it and so on and so forth. Mr. Speaker, he said, I could do it for next to nothing. And I went to the government and I asked them for money to do it. He went to the Farm Loan Board, actually, and he asked them for money. And he wasn't asking for a lot of money. That was the funny part. He wanted a little bit of money to help hold that land over, to help him keep the bushes cut, so that that land would still be good to be plowed and so on, and to be cultivated and used appropriately, as we keep saying that it's good for, and promoting and wanting to do in this province. But yet they said, no, we can't do that. So now, here he is. He's trying to look after everything. 77 years old, and he's still out doing this himself. Incredible. But he's trying to keep this alive for his daughter. And maybe a granddaughter or a grandson in the future, who knows, Mr. Speaker. But again, it's all about the commitment. We talk the talk, but the report did not walk the walk. It pointed no details. The Holy Angels could write a better report. The Holy Angels could probably write quite a report on the industry. Now, I'm going to credit him. It was a good little history lesson. It was 18 pages, and I know he's a former teacher. Maybe he had some input in that. Now, I know others are teachers in this House. Maybe they'll have some input too, you know. But again, it was a great little history lesson, but it did not commit to anything. There was nothing in it that said, we are going to do. So the farmers were curious, and they said, well, what is it he's going to do? We've been hearing for 18 months that, well, I've been hearing for longer. When the Honourable Minister was the then critic, well respected, I know that because I talked to them, and I know these people, and I've known the minister for a long while. And he's a farmer, sheep farmer, been around that business for quite some time, understands it fully, I think. He certainly knows the community. He knows all the people in it. He knows the business. And they thought, I think they put a lot of faith in the minister, and they thought that there were some answers, because that's what was said. We have the answers. We know. It's always easy when you're on the opposition side to criticize. I know that. It's a lot. He's noticing, he says, but I can remember being in this House when I came here in 2006, and he was over here on the other side, and he was critical. There was nothing that was done where it was not, nothing that was done that was not criticized. Had all the ideas in the world, and I just pulled out today in question period a couple of small tidbits of Hansard. There's all kinds. There's 11 years, I think, where the Hansard there that I could probably go back through and just fertilize a few fields with that. He says, absolutely. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, maybe that's not okay. Time is getting short, and that's too big because I could probably ramble on for quite some time about this very important topic. Words of wisdom. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, he criticized, had all the answers. He gets elected as the government. He's a minister of the Crown now. He's a minister of agriculture, and the industry is excited. I talked to them. They're excited. There's a new minister. They're saying, okay, he's promising some hope. This is what he's saying. We have some hope. We're going to fix this industry. Well, we all know where it's been from there. It's gone downhill. Commitments that were made by a previous government, which he'll always say were not commitments made by a previous government that he didn't uphold. Mr. Speaker, they never came to fruition. And it's just kept going and going, month after month after month. Well, now we all know, Mr. Speaker, as does the farming community, over all these months, it's been a very slowly pinned out piece of paper. 1 page a month. Can you imagine how much time has been spent on 1 page a month? And I can't wait for the minister to tell us how many people worked on the 1 page a month. Let's tally it all up. Let's look at the cost for glass. Let's look at the employment that went into creating this report. Let's look at the man, woman hours, people hours, Mr. Speaker. And we say no to a guy who's asking for a few $100s to keep his fields in the state. And look what we have lost, Mr. Speaker. Here we are 18 months in. Now, I can't wait till next year's meeting when, you know, they say, what happened? They're going to go through and we've done this. Well, we've done nothing. Well, I hope to have something. Maybe there'll be an addendum. Maybe there'll be something else. I don't know what the extra piece will be. There's got to be more to this report. There's nothing in it, Mr. Speaker. There's got to be more. And I'm asking the minister tonight, if he would tell us, where's the rest? Where's the meat and potatoes? What the farmers know, meat and potatoes, Mr. Speaker. Where is it? There's nothing in that report that talks to what we're going to do for the farming community in this province. With that, Mr. Speaker, I see my time has expired, unfortunately, for this session. And I look forward to, once again, having the opportunity to speak to this very important topic. And I thank the minister and others for being here this evening to listen to this debate.
Thank you. Chair now recognizes the honourable member for Kings West.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise on the NDP's agricultural policy and the late debate that we put forward today. I guess perhaps sometimes when there's a lot of hype around a policy piece, a plan, a strategy that's coming out, and you know, the expectation is that it's going to be delivered. It's going to break from some of our past approaches, and there'll be some newness, and there'll be a lift from a particular document. Well, you know, so the anticipation, the expectation, you know, an 18-month gestation period, and we really thought that there would be something substantial, you know, delivered. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it didn't live up to the hype. It just never turned the heads of the farm community that I spoke with. Both at the AGM and since going back to the Valley, and Kings County, as we know, is still, you know, critically important to the agriculture sector of the province. And so because we were hoping to see some departure points, some targets set, some new initiatives, some dollars put forward. And of course, they didn't come with this particular announcement. And I know the minister wants a better outcome for agriculture, but this plan is not going to take us down that path. And I think it's incumbent upon the minister and the Department of Agriculture to return to the farm community, to return to the people that can point some very, very strong directions. Now, I'm not sure really outside of the department itself how much consultation really went into this. Now, I did speak to 5 of the leaders that are part of the Agriculture Council, and there may have been some minimal, you know, input from them, but the 5 that I spoke with certainly didn't see anything that they had ever suggested at their meetings show up in this particular document. So from those that could make perhaps the greatest assist with a real action plan, a real document. Their work did not seem to be, or wasn't in this report. So, you know, and no mention of real financial support for farmers. Policies have no teeth, and a document with no real action plan. I was really hoping that the start of the document would outline a true entrant program, a true initiative for young farmers, especially those that are in the business 1 to 5 years, both on the family farm and those now who have some new ideas to take forward, that there would be some very concrete measures. Other provinces have moved ahead. Even little Prince Edward Island is looking after its next generation of farmers. It's cultivating that next generation in a very real, substantive manner. And that's what we need here in Nova Scotia. As I said at the AGM, you know, we have an outstanding institution in the Agricultural College, and that's where we need to be talking to the graduates and how we can transition them from 4 years of education to farms and to new agricultural initiatives in this province. And the minister knows very well what I'm talking about, because my neighbor, Justin Beck, is one of the bright lights in agriculture in Nova Scotia. He has some ideas that he wants to generate into profitability, and if he's given the kind of assist that we should be, you know, he'll be a leader of the pack. And every time we invest in our young farmers, we will be investing in a strong agricultural future, because we are at a low ebb. And it can be very measurable now to move forward. When we brought out what was I guess the beginnings of what will be a much more detailed food policy over the next 2 years, and by setting that target, trying to raise the 64-item food basket from the current low of 13 cents down from 17 cents just a decade ago up to 20 cents, in other words, 20 cents in a 2020 vision, that can happen. And because you don't have a lot of time, I want to clearly demonstrate how it can happen. And again, the minister is familiar with Meadowbrook Farm in the Berwick area. And they have a modern farm market, and yes, it did get some assistance through a few programs along the way, transitioning from a traditional hog industry to the Meadowbrook Farm. And it's a model that we have to duplicate across the province, because it's an integrated operation. 100% maritime products in the store, almost 100% Nova Scotia produced products, but he does use maritime beef. So you're looking at the cheese from Fox Hill. You're looking at the maple syrup from Cumberland County. You're looking at a host of vegetables from Solar Farms just down the road. In other words, now, see what's happening? We're creating jobs. We're creating a need on those farms for more produce. We start to duplicate that in our institutions. 20% of everything from Nova Scotia in our hospitals, in our jails, in our universities, and it can be done. The minister just needs to check in with Mount Allison, just down the road, of course, across the border, but we also have Mount St. Vincent with a food policy, and they're the leaders, and they're the ones that are showing the way of how we can tap into using more Nova Scotia products. So there's a benchmark. It's measurable. Are we making progress? Are we putting the demand on the farmer to produce more? Because you can be sure the farmers can. We happen to have a belt in the Annapolis Valley of soils that compare with any in Canada. We have one of the 3 top soil regimes, and we need to be using more of that acreage and putting it to producing high quality food. There's a day coming, Mr. Speaker, when I hope CFIA does real labeling in this country. And we bring in a product from a Central American country, where there are few restrictions on the kind of chemicals that can be used, and the product can be brought in, put in a jar here or in a container, and labeled made in Canada or produced in Canada. And we're going to get a wake-up call one of these days when there's an analysis of what's in that food. That's where the wake-up call is going to come. Also, we know peak oil and its impacts. Those are the things that need to push us quicker to produce more of our own food in this province. And I know that, you know, the local food movement is a big part of it. And from that, we will see, I think, an opportunity for exporting some of our products, which we do now, you know, with our apples, our blueberries, our cranberries, and so on. But I feel we've only just begun to create a local food economy. And we can produce food in every county of Nova Scotia, and that has to be the challenge that we give ourselves. It's incumbent upon every MLA, and for what I call a real strategy that puts some dollars behind initiatives that can help us reach a greater level of production in the future. It is, you know, when we take a look at Quebec, and while they're the leader of the pack with investing, whether it's young farmers, 75 million just recently. We don't expect that in Nova Scotia, but we can have a fraction of that. And the same way for a number of other initiatives that I think will indeed bear good successes as we move forward. So we're hoping for an expansion on the beginning of the strategy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The chair now recognizes the Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member from Yarmouth for his applause just as I stood up. Well, look, I got to say my colleagues across the floor who have spoken, I know what it's like to be on the opposition side. I'm not sure. I guess I'm assuming they read the document. So certainly, if he wants to talk about Fox Hill, certainly if he looks at the cover of our homegrown success, he'll see that we identify Fox Hill. The questions around targets. Look, we are dealing with entrepreneurs, business people, and you know, as much as we might like to say we'd like to see, you know, 12 or 15 new sheep producers, or we might want to see new carrot producers. Presently in the province, we produce twice as much, actually 3 times as much carrot than we consume. So, you know, the idea that we're going to try to incent people to grow carrots, certainly we're not going to take them down the road of producing carrots for the domestic market, and the issues around, you know, what have they identified as their market possibilities, and so we want producers to be successful, whether they're young producers, old producers, whatever. You know, the gentleman identified by the member for Hants West, you know, looking for support to keep the bushes down in his field. Well, I got to say, I have to sympathize with them. I know what it would mean to, if you work the land all your life and it's gonna grow, you think it's gonna grow up into bushes, and it's certainly cheaper to, you know, to mow them. But we're talking about taxpayers' dollars to keep those bushes down, and you know, that's not a business plan. So I think for us, that's what we're talking about. Even the member for Hants West, and I quoted him here, it says the report or our plan talks about good things. You know, so, well, we think it really identifies a lot of good things, and those good things are centered around the farming community and the initiative of the farming community. And these are business entrepreneurs that we really hope, if they have good ideas, will come to us. And we want to change the thinking so that we need people who are innovators. The member from Kings West talked about Justin Beck, a really fine young man who is actually trying some new things that don't get tried here very often and haven't been tried. When the hog industry was certainly crashing, it would have been nice to see the industry kind of shift to maybe think about, high moisture corn, and which is where Justin Beck is going. And we'd like to think that, and I'm not sure that Justin has approached the department in any regard, but certainly we'd like to take a look at, what might be necessary in order to ensure some success. So I would say that that's exactly what the plan is about. It's about innovators. It's about us trying to be there for innovators and help them along the way. And I don't know that there's much point in saying, well, we're going to try to have 12 new hog producers in the province, because, well, first of all, there may not be 12 people interested in doing that. But someone like Justin actually might kind of blaze the trail, and if he shows some success, then that's something we can use as a model, and maybe others would be interested. One of the issues now is we've lost a major processor. So, what is the capacity around the province to ramp that up? And even when the member for Kings West talks about Meadowbrook Farm, certainly there's a case in point where the Department of Agriculture certainly has been there to be helpful to move that. So, 18 months of work by people in my department. This did not have a big price tag. It was pretty much an in-house project, and the consultation, the consultation with the industry actually was fairly extensive, and the previous administration actually conducted that. The CTAG process, the Competitive Transition Working Group, really, they spent over a year outlining concerns that they thought would be helpful for the industry. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that I think we've incorporated that into our plan. So I firmly believe the key to our long-term sustainability is our ability to adapt to the changing marketplace. And our Premier announced Jobs Here, Nova Scotia's plan to create good jobs and grow the economy. This is a plan for the entire province and for all sectors of the economy, and everyone has a part to play, Mr. Speaker. So we'll focus on opportunities in high-value sectors to connect Nova Scotia businesses with potential partners abroad and to attract new companies. We will continue to develop our highly trained workforce and encourage educated and skilled workers to relocate and establish themselves in the province. Creating secure jobs and a secure future for Nova Scotia is a shared responsibility. Government, academic institutions, and businesses and workers need to work together to achieve this. Mr. Speaker, as part of the Jobs Here strategy, last week I officially launched our plan, and we think that actually this is a very good plan for Nova Scotia. Mr. Speaker, it's the first time any government has actually developed a plan, and I was at the Federation meeting, and I did not hear the angst or concern that the members opposite have indicated. I have to say, as a relatively new minister in a new government, I felt quite well received by the industry. It's a plan that outlines a broad strategic approach to long-term growth of agriculture in the province, the bottom line being helping farmers generate greater profits. We know those profits need to come from the marketplace and not from government. The 10-year plan for agriculture is a plan to help those in the industry become more profitable, and it's about doing everything within our reach to ensure Nova Scotia agriculture remains viable. We already have advantages that other jurisdictions do not, Mr. Speaker. Next to Quebec, we have the most diversified agriculture market in the country. Nova Scotia agriculture has been a diverse sector, and I have to say that its ability to innovate has been significant, and I want to credit the Nova Scotia Agricultural College with doing that. We have one of the most educated, best educated agricultural communities anywhere, Mr. Speaker. So the members talk about they see nothing. Well, I mentioned at the meeting about our grass-fed beef initiative, which we think offers great possibility for the industry. We're going to work with cattle producers on genetic enhancement, and something that they have been after. And so my staff will work with them into the spring to see what we can make that look like. Luckily, the blueberry industry this year has seen a return to better prices. I would say not out of the woods yet, but certainly hoping that next year that will continue with an incredible product. I think I have to mention Case Van Dyke when I talk about blueberries. This is an initiative that shows innovation. It shows tapping into a credible market and an incredible market, and getting maximum value out of the value chain, Mr. Speaker. So, research, innovation, the ability to compete, getting value out of the value chain, profitability, and if we're going to attract new farmers, whether young or not, Mr. Speaker, agriculture is a business, and for them, we need to have profits. That'll address our land use issues. That'll address keeping young people in the industry. And, Mr. Speaker, the 10-year plan proposed by this government is about profitability, competitiveness, innovation, and that'll secure a future for farmers in Nova Scotia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I want to thank all members for their participation in tonight's debate. That ends the hour of interruption. We shall now stand adjourned until tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The House is now adjourned.